Hello, everybody. Cody here,
And Eric.
and welcome to Eye on Industry. Uh, you need to kind of be with us today as we're putting this BMW back together after replacing a
It had some broken fuel fittings.
broken fuel fittings. Fuel sending unit wasn't even attached. Just all kinds of little stuff. But we're buttoning this up. So the customer can take it home. But we're going to follow up with our conversation that we had a little while ago. This
Yeah,
will be
going to
part
lunch.
two.
Yeah. On I think we hadn't gotten quite to KTM. I think you wanted to talk about KTM a little bit. So
KTM a little bit, yes.
so I rode KTM back when they were actually called a Penton before they even became KTM. And I still actually have a few of my Pentons and greatly enjoyed them, and they were great motorcycles. Uh, and then I still own to this day own KTM's, and I like them. I know that the newer ones have kind of got a weird stigma with some of the Johnny Come Lately guys, but it's amazing to me that as stable as KTM was in the past, because all they sold were dirt bikes, that they have a lot of the problems now, like financial issues. So my question is it like a lot of other uh, motorcycle entities that they get guys involved that just because they've got some kind of business degree of some kind, they think that they're God's gift to the power sports industry and they run it in the ground. I mean, we see that kind of stuff happens all the time with aircraft industry and stuff like that. So you get guys that don't know anything about that industry come in and then they destroy it. So
It is tough saying. I don't know. Like you said, they were struggling for a while,
hmm
and then they got bought out.
yeah,
They got saved, kind of like how Harley Davidson got saved back in the late '60s from AMF. Same thing with KTM, but they're still struggling.
there was the Husky KTM merger deal. I don't know if a lot of the guys remember, but Husky, I owned one for a long time, but I owned one of the Huskies that was produced by Kajiva. And so, they moved it from Sweden to Italy, and the production was out of Italy, but it was still called a Husky. And in essence, there was a lot of people that called them uh, white Kajivas. The Kajivas were red at the time, and the Huskies were all white. So uh, they called them a white Kajiva. Now I think that they're calling KTM's an orange Husky. But I've seen a lot of the KTM's and the Huskies side by side, and there's some similarities, but I think there's still some diversity between them, as far as what each one was. But I like their marketing, and their riders are successful, as successful as they've ever been in competition. So the pricing, I don't know about where you guys are from, but here, where we're at, uh, to be honest, the pricing difference in a new bike from the Big Four and the KTM isn't, it isn't that big. The There seems to be a lot of support for them still. Actually, there's more support now for the KTM aftermarket wise than I've ever seen in my lifetime.
I wonder if it has something to do with dealer network.
There's a lot to be said for that.
The lack of dealer network.
Yeah, there's a whole lot to be said for that. And it's another deal we're suffering from, guys. Some of this comes apart, or they've had it apart and they haven't had it back together like it's supposed to be. Check on that side. This side over here looks like it had two.
Yeah, so we took this bike apart 7 weeks ago, and I have worked on multiple bikes since then. I'm trying to remember how it all goes back together with these little panels and stuff. That's just part of being a technician. Um, with like a Harley, it's really straightforward. I mean, there's not much to them. We don't have all the extra body panel pieces, but But the GS here, you got the front, the midsection. It's a whole lot to it, and you start putting a puzzle together. Eventually, you get it all figured out. But yeah.
Places, all the plastic pieces interlock in some strange way,
Yeah.
and like when you get one that the owner and several other people have worked with, and they didn't really get it back together right, and then you get it, and then you're trying to overcome the what they had done with it. But so with KTM, I know there's a lot of people out there that are complaining about the KTM, and I hear it a lot too, not just with the supermoto guys or the flat track guys, but some of the cross country and motocross guys. But to be honest, everybody's got their favorite. Everybody's got a suggestion as to what they think is better, but I don't know that they're any better or any worse than any of the Japanese stuff. As far as reliability goes and serviceability goes, I think I'm with you. It may have something to do with the with management at the corporate level, and it could have a whole lot to do with the dealer network at the factory level.
Management always plays a role into it.
Now the same
Always,
can be
always,
said
always.
with
Oh, hold on real quick. So, little tip for you guys out there working on plastics. Especially, so I know a lot of guys will take a electric impact and bzz, bzz, bzz these down. You're going to do it, you're going to break the plastic here. It's always best to use a ratchet. Torts, and actually, if you have the torque specs, it's even better to actually use a torque wrench to the proper torque spec so you don't break the plastic from the factory.
yeah, that is true. A lot of guys will use an electric powered something and they strip it or they break it, or there's
Sorry, I
always
kind
something.
of interrupted you there, but
That's all right. I'm used to it. But
he's married.
that's right. And she never does that ever. But
Good thing Jennifer doesn't watch these.
no, or she might now. So it was him, honey. Polaris. Let's talk about how that kind of ties to Polaris and Indian. Now, I hated to see Indian pull out of the dirt track deal.
Right.
I thought that they had a great program.
Where's your flashlight?
They came in with a lot of dominance, and I thought they did their homework well.
It's right here.
There it is. And they came in like they brought a nuclear bomb to a knife fight, in essence, is what they did. So, but I hated to see them do away with their dirt track program, but I also hated to see the AMA do away with the race-only engine program. And it seemed like once that happened, there was a huge shakeup with Indian or Polaris or whatever you want to say, and all of a sudden they were restructuring the company. Now, as far as the buyout goes, here's my take, and here's what I've heard from guys in industry. They were looking for somebody to invest capital into that entity so that they could produce more motorcycles. And so they could expand that line. And anything that I read, even industry-wise, said that they being Polaris was a little bit short on being able to have investment capital to expand production.
Well, that could be, but I don't want Indian to do the same thing that Harley did. Harley, for years, for about 15, 20 years, they mass produced their bikes to where the resale value now on them has hurt them.
You know, it's always a difficult thing to worry about as a manufacturer is, are you going to flood the market with your product? Are you going to flood the market with a particular product that doesn't sell for some particular reason? You know, a particular model that a manufacturer makes that just doesn't sell.
Right.
You know, so I understand that concern as far as that goes. Myself, outside of the FTR, the competition only racer, and the street legal bike, that's pretty much the only two motorcycles that I personally like from Indian. But their sales indicate that they sell a huge amount of what they make, so there's a lot of people that like their styling.
They've taken a lot of the Harley crowd for sure.
There's a lot of the guys that were, hardcore Harley Davidson riders that have made the switch to Indian. But to be honest, though, Indian actually offered dollar for dollar for a while. Indian offered more bang for your buck.
I still think they do. I still think Indian still offers more bang for your buck than what Harley does. And this is nothing. Now listen, I'm not trying to bash Harley Davidson here. This is just me speaking from me personally, what I like about Indian compared to Harley. I feel like the Indian bikes, especially the touring bikes, have better suspension. I feel like that monoshock suspension that they have on the back of the touring bikes is a smoother ride. I feel like they lean in the corners better. Again, this is all just personal preference.
Sure.
And styling, I personally kind of prefer the styling of the Harley over the Indian as far as what the new bikes are. Now, when Indian came back, 2013, 2014,
Right.
They had the drifter fenders and stuff. Yes, I like the drifter fenders.
Really?
I do. I like the low sweeping fenders.
Right.
Again, not everybody does. Me personally,
Right.
I like the classic styling. So, and I like the way they ride. I like the way they handle. I like how they respond to me, to my kind of riding in the corners. So there's a lot of things that the Indians have that I like better than the Harley. But if I was to take the Indian styling, current Indian styling over Harley styling, I'm gonna go with the Harley.
Myself, outside of the actual XR line and not the street XR, but the competition XR line, the fondness that I have towards Harley Davidson as far as big twins goes is the basic Super Glide is kind of what I like. Not like a big wide glide fan, not a soft tail fan. I like the FX models of,
Well, don't worry,
of Harleys.
us down that guys talk trash on the wide glide guys all the time anyway.
Yeah, not being a Dyna bro brother, I like the traditional styling of the Super Glide, but having said that though, I also, enjoy a lot of the Buells also. I think that they're a neat motorcycle. I think that they're fun to ride, but
I think Harley's dumb for what they did with Buell.
yeah, I don't think it was a smart move as far as that goes, but what CEO in our lifetime hasn't created havoc and problems in the motorcycle industry that comes from wherever, and they come into the motorcycle industry and think they're going to be revolutionary and make changes, and
Right.
and they make changes, whether they're good changes or not, but they make changes. But I think that done correctly, this new buyout or buy-in, a lot of people are calling it a buyout. Actually, if you actually read any of the information, it's more of like a buy-in. This investment group has come in and bought into the brand and into the franchise. So I think that it's possible that they'll do good things, and maybe they'll expand the line a little bit. I think that the Indian line was a little bit narrow as far as styling went, so I'd like to see them I'd like to see him improve that and make some changes.
It will be interesting to see how much change actually comes to the Indian lineup now that they got a different CEO.
Yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see where that takes it. I hope it takes it in a positive way, because if not, then we're back to only one American motorcycle manufacturer, and I'd kind of like to see more than one back in the United States again, you know?
Right.
Well, I hope, back to KTM, I kind of hope KTM, I really hope that they fix whatever issues they have, because I really like a lot of the European off-road motorcycles a lot. My whole life
Let me see that.
tend to like them more than I like the big four stuff, but I guess time will tell with it. But anything and everything that I've read, it's always one extreme or the other. It's either gloom and doom and they're closing tomorrow, or they're making a change for the better.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not talkative. I'm kind of on my last. I've been up now for going nonstop for 14 hours. I'm kind of like, but definitely some exciting things coming to the industry for sure across all the boards. I'm anxious to see what kind of trike design Indian's going to have and come out with. The new CEO have mentioned that they are having a trike. So it'd be interesting to see what they go with the trike. Or they do more of the new styling, or they kick it back to old school and go with the drifter fenders. I personally think long swooping drifter fenders on a trike can make it look low to the ground, look bitchin'. But that's just me.
It'll be interesting to see what the prototype looks like, and then how that prototype transitions into the production line. But I guess that is the flavor of the day, is our trikes now.
Well, the thing is, there's a generation that's rode forever. They can't hold up the touring bikes anymore. They don't want to give up riding. So the trike's the next best thing. And hats off to the companies that make trikes. You know, it's cool that they go out. I don't know how many trikes Harley actually sells compared to other bikes. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's still neat that they went ahead and spent the money, the R&D, to develop a bike that allows their riders to keep going long after they probably should.
I think a trike is a natural transition for, at least it's not like, I'm not a big fan of the Spider, but again, I think that the trike adds opportunities for older existing riders, or even if they're younger, but for whatever reason, hip replacement, knee replacement, whatever, they can't ride anymore, or they've just never gotten the hang of the balance of riding a two-wheeler, but they still enjoy riding, or want to enjoy riding, so they choose to get a trike, and then they're able to ride and participate in the sport. So I'm with you. If it's your thing, it's your thing.
I tried to get my pops for years to transition to a trike, and he wouldn't do it, unfortunately. So he probably stopped riding sooner than he had to, because he was too stubborn. But it is what it is.
Well, I hope that Indian makes a lot of positive changes, a lot of positive upgrades, and that this buyout doesn't stall the company, right?
Right. Where the heck did let's go?
This goes on last, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the last thing to go on.
Well, we're to the point, I guess, to where we are.
we're almost done here
Yeah.
with this customer's bite. So then I'm gonna let y'all go. Let you ponder on the KTM and the Indian and what's some stuff you'd like to see from the companies coming in the near future. What's some stuff you'd like to see changed, maybe added, things you don't like. What's your feedback? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, give us some feedback. But look, guys, all of this keyboard commando crap, man, doesn't help anything with somebody with their pride sticking out. Give us some constructive input, like what you actually think is going to happen. Not anything that's derogatory and downgrading, but be positive, pro or con. Be positive and professional in your feedback, and let us know what you think. Whether it's Harley Davidson, whether it's Kawasaki actually, back having huge sales, which, like I stated before, Kawasaki had some flash in the pan models, but as a whole, they weren't the top selling, big four in my lifetime, and now they are, which is pretty wild. So I like to see that. But let's hear some positive feedback from you guys about where you think the industry's going or the shortcomings that the industry has, and realistic stuff. None of this pie in the sky stuff. But click and subscribe and check us out.
Until next time, y'all ride safe.